as a child, when you grow up to become like older, you realize that there are parts of you that aren't fully formed even when you get into adulthood, depending on how your parents are mature or less mature, but also life events, accidents, and all those stuff. And sometimes it's good to, as an adult and having maybe some free time, to look into those parts that you felt have been missing in the past. Because once you do that, you realize that you're not alone and that there's other people that are missing similar things to you. So it might be even good also to share it with the people that are emotionally invested in you, because we often have friends that don't really care and are not interested about us sharing our problems. But having a social net of people who actually cares, is it helps the person not to be bitter or have welled up emotions. It depends on the life events that happen in your life, because some people had an uneventful childhood, and when they grew up they didn't have to face a lot of issues or trauma. They grew up, they didn't have anger issues or have some breakdowns. But for some other people who were more like had some illnesses, serious illnesses or mental illnesses, and felt like more vulnerable from time to time, those people would benefit a lot to have someone who can listen to them. But I really admire like the people who are always took all their problems on themselves. Like they always try to solve everything on their own, even as a child with the incomplete parents. And those people I really respect. Like I have a friend like who had to deal with the parent who was like harming him, like too much discipline physically. And he told me like, oh no, it's not a big deal. Just block out your parent whenever he's trying to get mad for something that it's not really your fault or whatever. Like block out, close the door. For him, it was so obvious how to deal with parents that weren't treating them really fairly. Some Asian parents, they always tend to think that they have a solution for their children, but some of them are not like really close to understand what's going on with their children sometimes. And sometimes they propose solution that proves that they do not understand like your issues at all. And for the most part, some child will just ignore it and solve their problem on their own. But for some other times, especially for child in distress, or even a young adult like me who's in distress, like in pain, then when I try to explain it to my mother, she says something that's totally like showing that she doesn't understand at all. Like she's like, oh, go outside, do some sport, exercise yourself while vulnerable, and it's hard to get out and be active. So in the end, you need to be able to block out whenever a parent is concerned but doesn't understand your situation. But sometimes it's really hard to have no one to talk to. So it's really important, like if your parents aren't understanding or aren't invested enough in your life, it would be very beneficial to have someone who actually is tuned in with your problems. Not necessarily talking often, but from time to time, so that emotions don't get welled up. Make it so that you don't feel like there's something ready to be bursting out of yourself. Yeah. So yeah, I've talked about like 3, 4 topics, and it's gonna be made into maybe a few videos. And I realized that I should actually be standing a little bit away from the screen